Have you ever been asked about your childhood and you just freeze as if the answer isn't quite there? Not because it was a nightmare or completely empty, but because somewhere between the ages of 7 and 17, you essentially skipped about 15 chapters. That gap is exactly what I want to dive into today. What happens when childhood ends long before it's supposed to? I'm not talking about cinematic, dramatic moments. It's usually much quieter than that. It could be making dinner for your younger siblings at 9 years old while your parents work a double shift. It's playing peacemaker during your parents' arguments or learning to read the room before you even learn to read chapter books. But here's the thing that rarely gets discussed. The version of you that had to grow up too fast doesn't just vanish. That part of you is still calling the shots and influencing your decisions right now. Picture an 8-year-old who suddenly becomes the most responsible person in their house, not by choice, but out of necessity, and something inside them shifts. Psychologists call this parentification, which is when a child takes on roles and responsibilities meant for adults. But that clinical term completely misses the heavy reality of being so small, yet holding up something so massive. Researchers have found that parentified children often show what looks like incredible maturity. But, and this is key, it's not actual maturity. It's a survival mechanism. It's a child's nervous system learning to operate in crisis mode as its default setting, and that habit lingers. What felt like a normal Tuesday to you would have been a crisis for someone else. Growing up this way gives you unique superpowers. You can read people's emotions instantly, sensing your parents' moods the second they walk through the door. You anticipate everyone's needs and solve problems on autopilot because you had no other option. But these superpowers come with a heavy price tag you end up paying 20 years later. Interestingly, children who grew up too fast often struggle most with the simplest things in adulthood. You can handle massive life challenges with your eyes closed, but the small stuff, that's hard. Asking for help, resting without feeling guilty, or just being silly and carefree, those things feel genuinely dangerous. You learned early on that the world won't pause for you and your needs come last. Your stability relied entirely on your ability to hold everything together. You didn't just learn a lesson, you built your entire operating system around it, and that system is still running. In adulthood, you become the reliable one, the person everyone leans on when things go south. You might find yourself drawn to people who need fixing. It sounds like a savior complex, but really being needed is simply what love feels like to you. It's the only version you know how to recognize. Because of this, relationships get tricky. Intimacy feels exposing because vulnerability was a luxury you couldn't afford back then. Even now, when you're completely safe with someone who genuinely cares, a part of you absolutely refuses to lower your guard. You might attract emotionally unavailable partners. Before you blame yourself for this, understand that unavailable feels familiar. It feels like home, a place where you gave endlessly and rarely received anything back. So, when someone offers consistent love and presence, it might actually feel uncomfortable or wrong, like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then there's the control aspect. I'm not talking about toxic control, though it can manifest that way. I'm talking about the primal urge to manage every single variable around you, because in the past, unpredictability meant danger, and chaos meant everything was falling apart. So, you plan. You overthink. You run through 17 different scenarios before making the tiniest decision. People might label you a perfectionist, anxious, or type A. But what they're really looking at is a child who learned that dropping their guard has severe consequences. The exhaustion is real, by the way. That bone-deep tiredness that a good night's sleep can't fix isn't laziness or weakness. That is the result of your nervous system being in overdrive since elementary school. Your body literally doesn't know what true rest feels like because rest was never categorized as safe. Rest meant things might fall apart. Many who grew up too fast also have a complicated relationship with success. You achieve great, impressive things, but it never quite feels like enough. A voice is always pushing for more, better, faster. You're constantly trying to prove your worth because your value got tied to your usefulness a long time ago. And the cruel irony? Society actually rewards this. The world loves people who grew up too fast. We are productive, independent, and low maintenance. We get things done. But nobody stops to ask what it cost us to become this way. You also become fluent in a language most people never have to learn: emotional labor. You can manage the tension in a room like a conductor leading an orchestra. You diffuse conflicts before they even start, making sure everyone else is comfortable while you're drowning on the inside. The wildest part is that you probably don't even realize you're doing it anymore. It's as automatic as breathing. But while breathing keeps you alive, this habit slowly hollows you out. You likely have moments where you're surrounded by friends, family, and coworkers, yet you feel completely alone. Not just lonely in the obvious way, but isolated in the knowledge that no one sees how hard you're working to keep everything smooth and everyone okay. Asking them to notice your effort feels like admitting defeat, like failing at the one thing you were supposed to be perfect at. So, what do you do with all of this? How do you heal from something you're not even sure qualifies as trauma? It wasn't one massive event. It was 1,000 tiny moments of being too much and not enough all at once. First, you need to grieve. It sounds dramatic, but your loss is real. You are grieving the childhood you were denied, the version of you that could have been messy, needy, and irresponsible, and still been unconditionally loved. That kid deserved better. Admitting this out loud doesn't make you bitter or ungrateful. It makes you honest about the truth. Second, you have to learn a hard lesson. Being needed is not the same as being valued. Your worth isn't measured by your productivity or your ability to manage other people's feelings. You are a human being, not a human doing. Just existing is enough. You are allowed to rest. You don't have to have all the answers for once. You are allowed to fall apart sometimes. And you are allowed to receive care without having to earn it first. Most importantly, you are allowed to be a beginner at being taken care of. The fact that you are 30, 40, or 50 doesn't change that you simply never learned how to let someone else carry the weight. So, be patient with yourself as you learn. That child who grew up too fast did an incredible job keeping everything together. They were resourceful, strong, and brave beyond measure. But they can rest now. They don't have to run the show anymore. It is safe to let someone else take a turn. It is safe to finally be young at heart, even if you're late to it. You've been holding on so tight for so long. What would it feel like to finally let go? If this hit home for you, please subscribe. And if you want to support these deep dives, hit that join button to become a channel member. I would genuinely appreciate your support.